Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Jenkins and I would like to welcome you to this short lesson about a strategy that you can do in your writer's notebook called Your Name or Names. So the objectives of this is to learn how to write about something personal like your name. Observe as I walk you through my writing and then share it and how I got to where I was, and then begin writing about your own name in your writer's notebook. So what is a name? A name can be your first name, last name, nickname, pretty much anything that people call you and have a reason behind it. So the name is unique to who you are and there's probably a story behind it. So just think about that name or think about those names as I continue to go through it, and I'm going to give you an example of my writing and tell you how I came to what I did. So as I was brainstorming, I made a list of the different names that I have been called, and I've been called a son, a brother, Mr. Jenkins, Jinx, Lil J, and Uncle. And I have stories between all of these. I'm a son because my parents. I'm a son. I'm a brother because I have two siblings. I'm Mr. Jenkins because I'm going to be a school teacher. My friends used to call me Jinx whenever I was little. My soccer team used to call me Lil J, and then I recently had a nephew that was born, and he calls me Uncle. So that is how I brainstorm those names. I have a story behind each one of them, and you can brainstorm some names. You can either stop the video, pause it for a minute, brainstorm some names, and think about different stories that are behind those that maybe you'd like to include in your writer's notebook. And then if you do choose to pause it, you can come back to it right after you finish, and you don't have to pause it, but just brainstorm some ideas. And now I'm going to get into my excerpt from my writer's notebook. So I'm going to read this and then I'm going to continue to talk about it and how I decided to talk about this. So, coming from a small town, everyone knows you by your name. Not first name, but last. My last name is Jenkins and it has good meaning. My dad is a retired school teacher known as, you guessed it, Mr. Jenkins. He created a legacy for me to follow because everyone knows him and has stories of how he impacted their lives. I hope to continue the legacy and have people remember me one day as Mr. Jenkins. So after I brainstormed all the different names that I've been called, I thought, this one really sticks with me just because I am going to be a school teacher and people are going to call me Mr. Jenkins. And I just think it's crazy that people that are 10 years older than I am will say, oh, you're a Jenkins. I had your dad in class. And I just hope people will remember me whenever they're older than my kids and say that to my kids, because it just has always really stuck out to me and was like, wow, my dad did great. He was a great teacher. Everybody loved him. And I hope that's the teacher that I am one day. My dad really did leave a legacy for me, and that's why I have decided to become a teacher, is because his legacy and his inspiration of being such a great teacher and him impacting so many people's lives. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then that's why I chose to write about it, because Mr. Jenkins is something that I'm going to be called for the next number of years, and hopefully for the rest of my life, because people will remember me by that, and then also will remember me even after that. So now that I've told you how I decided, I brainstormed a little bit, I wrote about it, and then I walked you through it and the process that I went about writing it. It is now your turn to write about your name, and while you're writing, you can make it however you want to. It is a personal name, so it is your name, so you can write it however you want to. There's not a certain criteria you have to do. Just let the pencil do all the writing. Let's let the flow from the brain to the pencil do the writing. You can set you a timer to write with, just so you don't do too much, or you can write just a few sentences, whatever you want to. Just write about the name, and I wish I could see what y'all wrote about, because I know they're going to be great, because y'all are great writers, and maybe we could make that happen one day. But just don't be afraid to write. And like I've said before, it can be absolutely anything. You can talk about people that mispronounce your names and how that makes you feel. You can talk about your nickname. You can talk about your first name, last name, middle name, any name. So let's just get to writing. And I know y'all are going to do great. Y'all are great writers. And I hope y'all have a good rest of your day.